welcome back, ghouls and goblins. Well, I hope you're having a magical day, and as always, thank you for taking the time to support the channel. I'm Hello Good Game, your host in today's journey, in which we will be discussing the wilds of Eldraine, a new set being released into Magic the Gathering, and well, more importantly for me, Magic the Gathering Arena, available to play on September 5th, which is right around the corner. Super duper excited about this. And, to get ready for it, within this series of videos, I'll be discussing my personal top 10 picks for each rarity. First, the commons, moving into the uncommons, then the rares, and finally, the mythic bangers of the set. So, just kind of an exploratory exercise to learn more about the set and become, a little bit more familiar with everything that's going on, because, with like 300 new cards, it's a lot to get your head around, or at least mine. So this is the first step, right? We've kind of looked at all of the cards, compared them against one another, as well as what we already have in the current meta of constructed. For me personally, that's, really where I'm focused on with this list, and these lists, I should say. So yeah, if you have any opinions, don't hold back. That's what the comments are for. And like I said, this is kind of the first dive into all of these cards, other than the original reading of them, which, as we all know, is an absolute mess. Of course, we do have those videos live for you as well as these other videos within this series here. Oh my gosh, you're off to a good start, aren't you, bud? Let's go! So first off, we're talking about the common cards, the Poor and Lonely Flick a Coin. And of course, these are going to be in no particular order. We're not counting down and be like, this is the best uncommon card. They are just 10 of the best that I could really find and get my hands on. And I stand behind them. Of course, I'd love, a little bit of a conversation as well. Flick a Coin for 3. Instant speed, dealing 1 damage to any target. That's pretty cool. Furthermore, you get to create a treasure token. This is very good as well. And then draw a card. Okay. Doing 3 things for 3 mana. Okay, whatever. It's at instant speed. I really like it. The fact that you get to deal damage is great. The fact that it's any target is even better. Making a treasure is something that we do see in the set. It's kind of like a rebate, if you will, which is great. Now we can, in our minds, reduce the mana cost of this from 3 to 2, even though, yes, you still do need 3 to originally cast it. And then drawing a card, which is absolutely fantastic as well. So, this is just all upside. I could see it even being sorcery speed, for 3 mana. The fact that it is instant speed is what puts it on the top 10 for me. I absolutely love it. Flick a Coin, something that I'm sure we'll see more of. Moving now to Return from the Wilds for 3 mana at sorcery speed, allowing us to choose 2 of the following 3. Searching your library for a basic land card, putting it into the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. This is something that, we're already paying 3 mana for already, so that's interesting. Furthermore, we get to create a 1/1 white human creature token. Pretty decent. And, if we want, we can also create a food token, which is probably not necessarily the way we're going with it, but you might need life. You might need the food, right? The artifact, if you will. And, of course, the land is just great. So, it's not a stomper, but the value that it does give and the versatility that it provides, I think is quite nice. And the stompers are rare. Let's not forget about that. We're comparing cards against one another. This is a common card, right? Those two are very different. And the fact that they're comparable really does bode well for Return from the Wilds. Again, for 3 mana at sorcery speed as our new ramp. Moving on now to the Hopeless Nightmare. 1 mana as an enchantment, and when it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card and loses 2 life. What? All right, so, I know that it's a single-player experience within Arena, and that's what we're most excited about. But each opponent for 1 mana discards a card and loses 2 life. Are you kidding me? There's just no way. And then, when it's going to the battlefield from the graveyard, you get to scry 2 yourself, which I feel like it's almost just insult to injury as to the amount of value that this can provide. Furthermore, we can pay 3 and just sacrifice it ourselves to force the scry. Okay, so it's like we have so many different ways to take advantage of this once it's on the battlefield. In this specific set, the bargain mechanic, I'm even thinking of things, Rite of Oblivion. There's plenty of ways for us to be sacking our own permanents to gain additional value over our opponents. And this is providing, a ton of that value, on the front end when it enters, on the back end when it leaves. I'm surprised it doesn't draw you cards too at the end of the day, right? So I really do like Hopeless Nightmare for these reasons. Moving on, Warehouse Tabby. Now this one, I guess could be up to debate. Personally, I see so much support for enchantments that it was hard to exclude. As a common card and a cat, you can't exclude the kitty. Whenever an enchantment you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, create a 1/1 black rat creature token, and this creature cannot block. Furthermore, we can pay 2 to give the Tabby Death Touch until the end of turn. So for 1 mana, you have a creature that can gain Death Touch and now remove your opponent's attacker willy-nilly. That's good, okay? It's not there organically. You have to pay for it. A bit of a downside, sure. However, the fact that with the new bargain mechanic, as well as other, sacrifice mechanics, we can be sending enchantments to the graveyard frequently, right? And then, if we're adding additional creatures to our field, I think that this is really, really nice, whether or not we're sacrificing them, chump blocking with them, hopefully both simultaneously, or maybe even just attacking with them, right? I do think that this potentially provides a ton of value, throughout your matches. And it's nice and cheap, right? It's 1 mana. So I love it. Meow. The Troublemaker Oath for 2 mana might be one of the best that I've seen, but I don't want to come out and say it because guaranteed I'm proven wrong. But for 2 mana as a 2/2 with bargain, you may sacrifice an artifact or enchantment, or just a token in general as you cast this spell. And if you do, when it enters the battlefield, you're going to exile permanently an artifact or enchantment that an opponent controls. I do not mind this. It's phenomenal. A hard exile? That's really good. Common, 2/2 for 2. Yep, normal. But the fact that it can just sacrifice, most likely a roll token, but anything, I do like this, and I think that it is a very nice budget option to keep artifacts and enchantments in control. Torch the Tower for 1 mana at instant speed, again with bargain, dealing 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker, and if it was bargained, it will deal 3 damage to that permanent, and you will scry 1. If a permanent dealt damage by the Torch of the Tower would die this turn, exile it instead. So you may remember Flame Blessed Bolt, also for 1 mana, dealing 2 damage to creature or planeswalker. If it died, exile it instead. It was pretty cool, but this is strictly better because now we've added to the exact same card the bargain, allowing us to increase our damage output by 1 and gaining the scry 1. So, this is absolutely fantastic, and, a big reason why it makes our top 10 is strictly better than what was already a pretty good card. The Slumbering Keep Guard for 1 mana as a 1/1 human knight. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. Oh yeah. Pay 3, give it +1/+1 until the end of turn for each enchantment you control. What? So, the fact that you get to scry 1, over and over and over again, phenomenal. That's going to make sure that your deck's running really nicely, consistently, giving you access to the appropriate card, or increasing the odds of that. And then, late game, After you're done filtering through your whole deck, assembling your, your dream state, you can pay 3 to, who knows, make it a 7/7. By now, it might even have trample on it or something. So, this Slumbering Keep card, I do think is very, very good. Moving on, we'll have the Snare Master Sprite for 1 mana as a 1/1 with flying as a fairy wizard. When it enters the battlefield, you may pay 2. When you do, tap a creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. It will not untap when it's meant to. It will just, in fact, remove 1 stun counter instead. So, again, a 1/1 for 1 with flying, great, but you can pay 2 to lock something down? That's, like, pretty good for an uncommon card. It's a fairy as well, so, it's got the potential to go into the new standard constructed fairy deck, but also, opening this up into the older formats. And I don't even, maybe this is good enough for modern fairies. I truly don't know. Never seen the deck, but it's there. Plunge into Winter. I can confirm that this is very good. For 2 mana at instant speed, tap up to 1 target creature, then scry 1, and then draw a card. What? So, again, you're doing 3 things here for 2 mana at instant speed. Very, very good. Tapping something, scrying 1, and then drawing a card. This is just great to see. Finally, the Wicked Visitor for 2 mana, a 2/2 nightmare, and whenever an enchantment you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent will lose 1 life. I'm kind of in love, if you haven't been able to tell, with the enchantments that are in the set. Eldraine is an enchantment-based set for the most part, but they've really done a good job, I believe, at front-loading some powerful commons, and as we'll see in our upcoming videos, uncommons, for the individual who's, not out to buy all the rares and mythics, right? Who's just looking to have some fun with some cheap budget magic. And, we've seen this recently in the last couple sets where, like, the free-to-play decks are strong, homie. Like, Toxic mechanic and the Oil mechanic, very, very busted. That has come out recently. And I do believe that this enchantment build is looking pretty aggressive as well. With this being said, this is all theory. We're just looking at it, evaluating base stats in a comparative manner against, one another. So it looks good, but we do need to test it, right? We need to see how good it really is. With this being said, thank you for watching today's video, going through my personal top 10 common cards for the Wilds of Eldraine, which will release in to Arena and I guess on Tabletop. It might be on Tabletop a little earlier, but again, I live in the boonies. We don't really even have a paper community, but I do love Arena, and I know for certain that we'll have access to that on September 5th. So get your pre-orders in before that, and if this comes out also before the 31st and 1st, we'll have the streamer early access event live on Twitch, trying all these new cards out, filming some new decks here for YouTube as well, so don't miss out on those. Yeah, woo, we did it. Now just film 3 more of these, HGD, you're almost done. Cheers, have a magical day, and definitely check out the rest of the series as well for the other top 10 rarities. Cheers, take care, have a magical day. Like, comment, subscribe. See you soon.